some preschool thoughts. Well, not preschool thoughts. Preschool thoughts on the team. What is it we're doing here? I think it's important to ask that question once in a while because it's so easy to get pulled into old habits and routines, to get bogged down in the process of, learning and competing and creating, that we sometimes miss the forest for the trees. And as a result, we find ourselves falling back on what worked, or even what didn't work in the past because, we have to fill the hour somehow. So I've just been thinking, we need to keep our eye on the forest. And at the same time, we need to appreciate the beauty of each tree. It's a big picture versus little picture issue, right? A smarter way of saying that is that while we have to focus on the micro level, the individual trees, which in this metaphor represent the things we do in speech and debate or competitive theater, we must also play in the macro world. And that means I have to ask questions like, what do I want for these little geniuses? And beyond competitive success and communication or artistic skills, what precisely are we aiming at? And when I ask those questions, I have a lot of thoughts. A smarter way of saying that is, I find myself pulled into a multi-dimensional vortex which exists simultaneously in the past, present, and future, but where I realize the future is not fixed, and the decisions I make in the present, informed by the past, could have far-reaching and long-lasting repercussions for your future. And so, like Indiana Jones looking for the Holy Grail, I must choose wisely. But basically, I have a lot of thoughts. And layered on top of those thoughts is the realization that if recent history has taught us anything, it's that there's a great, big, beautiful world out there, and we have very little control over it. Actually, none at all. We have no control over it. At all. What's my point? Before I get into that, let me ask you to do something that isn't easy, and that is to listen openly and sincerely. I'm going to use some words that would normally tempt some of us to go to a dark, cynical, sarcastic, and inappropriate place. I point that out so that when that happens, you'll recognize it and talk yourself back into a more open and sincere mental state. Because I'm going to talk a little bit about love. And that makes people uncomfortable. That's why this message arrives in the form of a video you're watching on your own rather than a group discussion. But having explored a small amount of that multi-dimensional vortex that resides outside the space-time continuum, one of the conclusions I return with is that when you get right down to it, my job is to love you. Some of you started giggling. I warned you, but take the message in the spirit it's offered. Sincerely. Coaches have one job, to love their team and each player on it. And I choose the word player intentionally. More on that in a future video. But I'm not the only one with a job here. You have a job as well. Guess what it is? Your job is to love your teammates. And that can be difficult, because some people can, from time to time, prove themselves tough to love. But we still gotta do it. That's it. Those are the 2 team commandments so far. 1, the coach shall love the team and its players. And 2, the players shall love one another. And now your mission. In your mission log, aka comp book, define the word love in this context. Also, talk about where your concept of love comes from. Jot down some ideas, do that now, and do it sincerely.